So thank you all very much for joining today. And I hope you're enjoying the journey of Gita Rahasya as much as we are. So without further ado, we'll start with the prayers, invocation prayers, and then we'll dive into the nectar of Sri Gita Amrita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Radhanatha Swami Niti Namine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine. Nama Acharya Padaya Nitai Kripa Pradayine Gaura Katha Dhamadaya Naragrama Tarine. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. We welcome all of our YouTube live listeners, our Facebook live listeners, and our listeners over Zoom. Hare Krishna. We welcome all of you to this very special session, day 5 of Sri Gita Rahasya. We'd like to congratulate all the devotees who participated in the quiz. The names are really increasing now. But we, anyways, thank all of you for joining in. So thank you so very much for participating in the quiz sessions. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So now we start with chapter 7. We've completed chapter 6 till chapter 6. Now we'll do today 7 and 8. Remember the jewel box, that analogy that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives us about the entire Bhagavad Gita is like a jewel box. The bottom portion of the jewel box is the first 6 chapters, which we just completed. And then the top portion is the chapters from 13 to 18. And then it's a jewel coated, studded lid. So in chapters 13, 18, there are 2 jewels. There are 2 verses which are very special. And then in between is chapters 6 to 12, which signify Bhakti Yoga. The chapters below are Karma Yoga, and the chapters from 13 to 18, they signify the Jnana Yoga, studded with jewels of 2 wonderful verses which are Bhakti Yoga. And then in between chapters 7 to 12 describe Bhakti Yoga. So we are entering into the Bhakti Yoga section of that jewel box today. We'll discuss 12 important verses on chapter 7, and chapter 8 has 7 important verses. So we start with chapter 7, the knowledge of the Absolute. Now, if we see the connection between chapter 6 and chapter 7, the last verse of the final chapter gives an introduction to the Bhakti Yoga. Text 6.47 explains that a yogi who is always thinks of me in devotion is the best. Madgatein antaratmana. And then the very next verse, the first verse of chapter 7, explains how to think of Krishna in devotion. Last chapter says, think of me in devotion. So Arjuna says, really? How? Boom, there's the answer. First verse of the 7th chapter. This is how you should do. Because he's saying, concentrate on me with full faith. Faith comes from knowledge. In fact, sometimes people say knowledge comes from faith as well. Because when was the first time we had the knowledge of ABCD? That time of knowledge of ABCD, did it come from any other knowledge? Or did it come from faith in our teacher? When we were in kindergarten, the teacher, whatever the teacher told us, we followed. And the teacher said A, B, C, and we just had faith. And because of that faith, we developed this knowledge. And then that knowledge solidifies our faith. Then that faith develops more knowledge. And so it goes on and on. But without knowledge, we might doubt Krishna's position. So therefore, in chapter 7 to 12, Krishna presents the knowledge of himself as he is, as the supreme personality of Godhead, just to inspire and strengthen our bhakti and Arjuna's. And that's why the first verse of 7th chapter stresses on hearing. Try to acquire knowledge by hearing as the only process. So can we have the PPT presentation now, which will give the breakdown of chapter 7, different sections in chapter 7.
So chapter 7 has 6 parts. So these 6 parts in this chapter 7, we have the first section, which is from text 1 to text 3, is talking about Tatshrinu. Tatshrinu means simply hear, just hear. Very, very important. Actually, there's a very beautiful article just written a lecture given by Srila Prabhupada on just these 2 words, on just hear. It is so important to simply hear. So Krishna requests Arjuna to hear of both his material and spiritual energies that Krishna will be describing. Krishna declares that the transcendentalist who succeeds in truly knowing him is very, very rare. So this is the 2 things that are discussed in this first section.
And that's why he says, just hear submissively. One time there was a king, and in the court of this king, there came a person who sells murtis or deities and statues. So he had 3 identical statues. They looked exactly the same. And the sculptor, he came and he challenged the king. I challenge anyone in your court can tell me what is the difference between the 3 statues. So everyone was surprised, and then they said, yeah, let's take up the challenge. So some of the king's ministers came, they looked, they toppled up, down, everything, the whole dimensions, all of the heights, all of the dimensions in between, everything was same. And many people came, they couldn't figure out. Then came one person. The king was desperate. Then the prestige of the kingdom was at stake. And then this person said, I can find out. King said, all right, you give it a try. Hopefully you can do it. You seem confident. So then he brought a wire with him. And that thin wire, he went and he put inside the ear of one of the statues. Of the 3 first statue, he put it inside the ear. It went inside the ear and the wire came out the other ear. Then he went to the second statue. He put the wire into the ear of the second statue. The wire went in but did not come out. Then he went to the third statue and he put the a wire inside the ear. The wire went in, but it came out of the mouth. And then the person said, this is the difference. Everything else is same. They look the same, they feel the same, but there's a hole inside the ear which comes out. For the first one, there's hole in both the ears. The other one, there is a hole only in one ear, and the other, there's a hole in the mouth. There's holes in the ear and the mouth. And so what do we understand here? Krishna says, Tat Shrinum, just hear, which means after hearing, what's important is what we do after hearing. After hearing, do we hear from one ear and take it out the other, just like the first statue? Or do we hear and then keep it inside
Just
and try
retain
to
it.
retain it, try to meditate on it, like the second statue? Or do we do like the third statue, where we hear from one ear and then speak from the mouth? These are the three ways of hearing. And the best way that the acharyas say is to hear, meditate, and apply in our lives, and then speak. That then our hearing process becomes complete. So hearing actually includes chanting, because when we are chanting, when we are speaking, there are at least two people who are hearing: the speaker and the Paramatma within the heart, hearing what we are speaking about him. And then he's pleased accordingly. So we should hear and meditate, apply it in our lives, and speak it to others as well.
So, many devotees ask, like even yesterday, there was a question that how, whatever we are hearing, how can we retain it? What can we do to retain it? So we know that the first process, out of the 9 processes of devotional service is Shravanam. Shravanam means listening, hearing. So then after Shravanam, we tend to skip the second process. The second process, Kirtanam. And as a result of Kirtanam will come what? That's the third process, which is Smaranam. So Shravanam, Kirtanam is followed by Smaranam, is the natural result of Shravan and Kirtan is Smaran. So how we remember it throughout the day, throughout our lives, is not only hearing, but also repeating what we are hearing. Therefore, we give you the assignments that you are receiving. So today we will check who all are doing the assignments. These sharing assignments that we give to you as the home assignments, very, very important. So we are listening, but we are giving the opportunity to speak also so that we can have the remembrance. So then moving on to section 2. The section 2 is covering verses from text 4 through text 13. To text 12. So it's dealing mainly about knowing Krishna's material and his spiritual energies. We know about Krishna's energies, that Krishna is both the source of matter as well as spirit. And he can, when we, Krishna is actually the controller of his energies. He is not controlled by his energies. So that is something that we need to understand, that when Krishna comes to this world, it's not that he becomes controlled by the laws of time or the laws of this nature. He doesn't. He is still the proprietor. He is still the controller.
Then we come to section 3, where it says Krishna controls the mode. And therefore, that is a very good reason that we must surrender to Krishna. And surrender is not, oh, hands up, surrender. No, this is not as we surrender to the law. This is as we surrender out of love. Just like a mother surrenders to the child, just like a child surrenders to the mother out of love and trust. So,
that hands up surrender is like surrender out of fear. Yes, I fear you, but there's no love in it. Yeah. And therefore, that's not called surrender. What surrender means in the Bhagavad Gita is surrendering out of love, out of our own free will. We choose to love Krishna like that.
So Krishna controls the modes. When we surrender to him, he removes us, he relieves us of the influence of the modes of nature. We'll talk about what are the three modes of nature.
Then section 4, from text 15 to text 19, talks about, there are 4 kinds of impious people who never surrender to Krishna. Who are the men who do not surrender to Krishna? And who are the 4 kinds of people who actually take shelter of Krishna, who actually come to Krishna? So that is also described here in section 4 from text 15 to text 19.
And then section 5, from text 20 to text 25, it talks surrender to the demigods, the devatas, and talks about impersonalism, because those who surrender to demigods and those who are impersonalists, those who think that actually the ultimate truth is impersonal, the ultimate truth does not have any personal quality, and ultimate Krishna, the personal form of God, comes from the impersonal form, which is not correct, which is what Krishna is trying to prove. No, the impersonal aspect of the Lord comes from the personal aspect. Personal aspect is the source. And so those who surrender to demigods for material benefits, those who are impersonalists, they do not understand Krishna. And therefore, out of, Krishna uses the word foolishness, do not surrender to him. But he's saying it in a very compassionate way, that if they surrender, it would be so wonderful for them. Then the final section, section 6, that how by knowing Krishna we can get freedom from the bewilderment. How living entities are bewildered by Maya and they see dualities, hot, cold, hatred and love, and so many different things, envy and generosity and gratefulness, all of these things. But how can we get freedom from both of them? By devotional service, because it places us beyond these qualities. And by being conscious of Krishna in devotional service, we can know him even at the time of death.
So some very special verses are described in this chapter. Very, very important. Like Prabhu was mentioning in day before yesterday's session, that here we are getting introduced into Bhagavan. The Bhagavan aspect of Krishna is now coming into play. So please look out for these beautiful verses. And also in this chapter, there are some very favorite verses of Srila Prabhupada, which Srila Prabhupada very often used in his classes. So we are going to discuss even those ones. So we can end the PowerPoint here. Thank you. So in this chapter, as we said, there are some practical applications of this section 1, which we are just going to give you a brief overview of.
And that is that there are 2 things. One, that this chapter tells us how we can obtain the rare understanding of Krishna and his energies simply by hearing. We hear and then we understand what Krishna is just from this chapter. And one needs to know not just from the data, existential data, but awareness of its relationship with Supreme. For example, I can do a PhD on the tip of the grass. How does the tip of the grass, what are its components, how is it what is it composed of, what are the chemicals, what are the chemical reactions when someone stencils on it, what happens? All these things we can do, but it's not of any use until we know what is its relationship with the entire tree. What is its relationship with the garden? Similarly, unless we can understand what is the relationship of this matter and spirit with Krishna, the knowledge is not complete. And that complete knowledge is given here in the 7th chapter.
Particular chapter. So we can again have the PowerPoint, please, to the next slide. We will go into the important verses of this particular chapter. It starts with 7.3 as the important verse.
There are 12 important verses, so hold on to your seatbelts.
So please try to recite along with us, looking, at the PDF version of the 108 important verses that have been sent to you. Here in the PowerPoint, we have only the translations. But if you want the verse, then we have sent you the PDF version in the WhatsApp group. You can open that up and take a look.
मनुष्याणां सहस्रेषु कश्चिद् यतति सिद्धये यततामपि सिद्धानां कश्चिन्मां वेत्ति तत्त्वतः. Out of many thousands among men, one may endeavor for perfection, and of those who have achieved perfection, hardly one knows me in truth.
So this is the esoteric position of Krishna. That Krishna, it's not that, yes, I want to know Krishna, therefore I will know Krishna with my own endeavor. That desire has to be there, but Krishna also has to come forward. He also has to reveal himself to us. That is the unique position of Krishna.
You can see there are 8.4 million species of life. Of those 8.4 million species, 0.4 million or 400,000 species of human beings. It's such a rare form of life. This human form of life itself is very rare. Out of those people who get the human form of life, one may endeavor for perfection out of thousands of them. Just endeavor. I want to go for spiritual life. Otherwise, everyone is just engaged in sense gratification. Life comes, they grow, they die, they grow old, all of that. And then out of thousands who endeavor for perfection, they get the mercy. Endeavor is for perfection, but the achievement of perfection is only by mercy. One who gets that mercy. Of those who achieve perfection, hardly one knows me in truth. So it is so rare to know Krishna in truth. And therefore we must understand that if we are in the association of those who are endeavoring for spiritual life, who are endeavoring for perfection, some of them have achieved perfection. Srila Prabhupada knows him in truth. How fortunate we are and how grateful we must be to be in this kind of association. We go to the next verse. Next slide, please.
7.4.
Bhumirapo nalo vayur kammano buddhireva cha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakritirashtadha. Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Altogether, these 8 comprise my separated material energies.
So here Krishna is describing that what are, the ingredients comprising of his material energies. So earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. Now, when we say false ego, that implies that there must be a true ego too. Ego basically means identity. So when the soul misidentifies itself with the gross material body, that is called as false ego. And when the spirit soul, by the association of saintly people, by reading saintly scriptures, they raise in their spiritual consciousness, then their true ego is raised, where they can relate to identifying themselves as the eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And that is true ego.
And this, on the PPT that you're seeing, this man, this is the universal form of the Lord. And in this universal form of the Lord is made up of all of these elements: earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And the functions of the mind is thinking, feeling, and willing. So whatever we are feeling, the emotions, the thinking, the thoughts that are coming, these are all coming from the mind. The function of the intelligence is to discriminate. Right now, there are thousands of thoughts that are going through our mind, but Sometimes the mind is saying, hey, I need to go, when is dinner, when will this class end, I need to eat dinner. Or sometimes we think, oh, tomorrow I have to go to work, and hundreds of thoughts are coming right now at the same time. But our intelligence says, no, this is Bhagavad Gita, this is important, stay here, stay focused, and chooses just that one thought to focus on hearing and chanting this particular session. And the false ego to true ego that Kalasudha wonderfully explained, the process of converting, transforming that false ego into true ego, is the process of spiritual life. To transform our identity from that I am the body to the identity that I am the soul, I am the eternal servant of the Lord. That is the process of spiritual life, especially constituted by chanting of Hare Krishna, Hare
Hare
Krishna,
Krishna,
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Hare,
Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama,
Hare
Hare Rama,
Rama,
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Rama, Hare
Hare
Hare.
Hare.
If we chant and hear attentively these sound vibrations, automatically, eventually, our false ego is slowly getting transformed into true ego. We go to the next verse. Apareyam itastvanyam
Prakritim
prakritim
vidhi
vidhi
me
me
param,
param
jiva
jiva
bhutam
bhutam
mahabaho,
mahabaho
yayedam
yayedam
dharyate
dharyate jagat.
jagat. Besides this inferior nature, O mighty armed Arjuna, there is a superior energy of mind, which are all living entities who are struggling with material nature and are sustaining the universe. So by these material qualities that are ingrained within us, not only from this lifetime but many lifetimes of coverings, we have the coverings of lust, pride, greed, envy, anger, illusion. So the process of reawakening the soul to its original nature is when we can, through the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, like Prabhu explained so beautifully, it helps in transforming our lust into pure love. It transforms vengeance into forgiveness. It transforms arrogance into gratefulness and to humility. It transforms our anger into tolerance. So, in this way, we can develop, in a very natural and a very organic way, we can develop these beautiful qualities. So, we go to the next
Before that,
verse.
just one point. Here it says, besides this inferior nature, there is a superior energy. And then previously it says, what that inferior nature is a separated energy. Previous verse says it's a separated energy. And then besides that separated energy, there is the superior energy, which is the soul. The separated energy, Srila Prabhupada once, a disciple asked, Prabhupada, what is the separated energy that it's talking about in chapter 7, text 4? Separated energy of Krishna, this material nature, how can we understand that? Srila Prabhupada said, well, have you ever heard of my lecture on a tape? At that time, there was no YouTube, there was no iPods and things like that. We had tapes, and so
Cassettes.
cassettes, and that was the latest technology during Srila Prabhupada's time. Srila Prabhupada said, when you hear me on a tape, on my lecture, are you on the tape? Are you hearing me? And devotee said, yes. He said, no, I am somewhere else. You have taken my audio energy, captured it, separated it from me, and now you are hearing my separated energy. It is me because it's my voice, but that energy has been captured in an audio tape, and you're hearing that separated energy. So it's me, but it's still separated from me. I'm doing my other things at the same time that you're listening, my separated energy. So in that sense, we can understand Krishna's separated energy is material energy. It is him, but it's Krishna is doing his own thing. He's enjoying, and this energy is continuing uh, in the direction of Krishna, but separated from him.
And this is a fantastic way that Srila Prabhupada gave this beautiful analogy for us to understand the separated energies of Krishna. Next slide, please.
Matta tara parataram nanyat kinchidasti dhananjaya mayi sarvam idam protam sutre manigana iva.
O conqueror of wealth, Arjuna, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So Krishna, when he's speaking like this, we should never understand that this is Krishna's arrogance. When normal people say like this, we think, oh, this person is so arrogant. But Srila Prabhupada explains in the purport to this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada makes a statement that if a millionaire, he is saying that I am a millionaire, then he is speaking the truth. There is no arrogance in it. But if a beggar is saying, I am a millionaire, then that is wrong. So if we say that I am God, then that is absolutely wrong. So therefore, we need to understand that what is the position of Krishna. So to understand this, there was once, all the sages of the world, they got together and they said, we must understand, we must try to see. We can end the PPT here. Thank you. We'll continue again from the next verse. So there was once, all the sages who assembled and they said, let's find out from, there are three, devatas, like we say, or, three, the Trinity, the Holy Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. So amongst them, who is the Supreme? Let us take some practical, way of doing it. So all the sages, they appointed Bhrigu Muni. So Bhrigu Muni, he said, okay, I will do this. I'll, find out who is the Supreme. So then first, Bhrigu Muni came to Kailash. And when he came to Kailash, he said, he looked at Lord Shiva. He was sitting there, with Parvati Devi. And he started offending Lord Shiva by his words. And when he started offending Lord Shiva by his words, Parvati Devi and Lord Shiva also, they reacted. And they said, they started reacting, they felt bad. And so, Bhrigu Muni left from Kailash. And when he came to Lord Brahma in Satyaloka, Lord Brahma, Bhrigu Muni offended Lord Brahma in his mind. Because he started thinking that, oh, who is this Lord Brahma? He just is not such a, fixed up personality. So immediately Brahma could understand that this person is not respecting me. So, Brahma was offended, was seriously offended. So Bhrigu Muni left from Satyaloka also. Then he came to Vaikuntha. When he came to Vaikuntha, he saw that Lord Narayan was lying on the bed of Anantashesh and Lakshmi Devi was massaging his lotus feet. And Bhrigu Muni got so angry. He said, I have come. I'm a sage. I'm a Brahmana. And you're not even getting up and giving me respect. So Bhrigu Muni just came, and by his action, this time, by his action, what he did is he just put his feet on the chest of Lord Vishnu. And as soon as he did this, Lakshmi Devi was very, very offended. But Lord Vishnu, how did he react? He said, oh, Brahma and Devta, you have come. I am so sorry. Your soft lotus feet has come and it is, it hit my chest. My chest is like a stone. And I hope that your soft lotus feet is not hurt. So then Bhrigu Muni said that this is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who doesn't have any kind of arrogance, who's just concerned about his devotees, the welfare of his devotees. So this has to be the Supreme. So this is just a little beautiful story to understand that, Krishna, Lord Vishnu, they have been proclaimed, through tests. They have stood the test of time to say that, yes, they are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So moving on, can we have the next slide, please? This is text 14.
Daivi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mameva Ye Prapadyante
Mayametam taranti te.
This divine energy of mind, consisting of the three modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. But those who have surrendered unto me can easily cross beyond it. Krishna is explaining about these three modes, Sattva Guna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, and it'll keep referencing in every chapter of the Bhagavad Gita almost. And these three modes, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, the mode of string, are mode of ignorance, are like uh, three primary colors: red, yellow, and blue. And these three different percentage of combinations of these three primary colors, we get so many different colors, hundreds, thousands, millions of colors, but there are just three basic. Similarly, there are three basic: Sattvaguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, mode of goodness, mode of passion, mode of ignorance. But different combinations of these modes, they affect our mind in different ways. And each of us have a different combination of these modes. Some may have 10% mode of goodness, 50% mode of passion, rest mode of ignorance. Some may have a 90% mode of goodness, 5% passion, 5% mode of ignorance, things like that. And there's mixed modes of passion and ignorance also. So with this, we see so many different kinds of people having different kinds of natures. Everyone has different nature is because of the three modes of material nature. But from the point of view of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying these are nothing but chains which are binding us to the material world. We had discussed last time that how Maya Devi is like the jailer, and we are in this jail which does not have any prison bars, but there are chains. Those chains, one is a golden chain, which is the mode of goodness. The mode of passion is the silver chain, and mode of ignorance is the iron chain. And those who are in the mode of goodness, sometimes they are proud. Look, I am bound by the golden chain, and you have an iron chain. Yes, but the fact is, my dear sir, you are bound as well. The whole goal, Krishna is saying, is to get rid of these chains, these uh, modes of nature which are affecting us, and go beyond it. How do we do it? Mama
Those who-
bhaya duratyaya mameva ye prapadyante. One who surrenders to me. Surrender to me, you'll become free from these three modes.
The next slide, please. This is 15th verse. Namam dushkritino mudha prapadyante naradhama maya parita jnana asuram bhavamashrita.
Those miscreants who are grossly foolish, lowest among mankind, whose knowledge is stolen by illusion, and who partake of the atheistic nature of the demons, they do not surrender unto me.
This particular verse is very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. Almost 80% of Srila Prabhupada's lectures, you will find a quotation of this verse. Srila Prabhupada would love to say, Namam Dushkritana Mudhas. They're all Mudhas. There's a very, very, very dear verse of Srila Prabhupada is this particular one. Next slide, please.
Chaturvidha bhajante mam
Janasukritinarjuna Arto Jigyasurartharthi Jnani cha Bharatarshabha. O best among the Bharatas, Arjuna, four kinds of pious men surrender unto me and render devotional service unto me: the distressed, the desirer of wealth, the inquisitive, and he who is searching for knowledge of the Absolute. So these are the four people, Srila Prabhupada says, that who come and approach Krishna. We can categorize them into this, category. Of course, there are people who just spontaneously love Krishna, and that is described in the next verse. So can we have the next slide, please?
Now, if you see the previous two verses, those who do not surrender and those who surrender to Krishna, you will see that all those kinds of people, those who do not surrender, are also inside us. And the qualities of people who do surrender to Krishna is also inside us. There's no one person so sometimes we surrender to Krishna, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. The whole idea is to identify those qualities within us which are stopping us from surrendering to Krishna and transform them into qualities that help us in surrendering to Krishna. That's the whole process of spiritual life and of Krishna consciousness.
The next one, please. Bahunam janmanamante jnanavan mam prapadyate vasudeva sarvamiti samahatma sudurlabha. After many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So those who come to Krishna out of, just being helplessly in love with him, they are very, very rare souls, very, very special souls. And Srila Prabhupada said that anyone who is coming into this Krishna consciousness movement and who is studying the Bhagavad Gita in the association of devotees, they are qualified for this particular verse. So all of the devotees who are listening here, they are all very, 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 very special. And you are that, Bahunam Janmanamante. You all are that very, very rare soul.
Text 25.
Next one, please. Naham prakasha sarvasya yogamaya samavrita mudhoyam nabhijanati lokoyamam ajamavyayam. I am never manifest to the foolish and unintelligent. For them I am covered by my eternal creative potency Yogamaya, and so the deluded world knows me not, who am unborn and infallible. So Krishna says, it's not that easy for me to be known by anyone. If anyone wants to know me, they need to be, what are the two qualifications? They need to be my friend and devotee. If we have any kind of ill feeling towards Krishna, any kind of envious nature towards Krishna, Krishna keeps himself completely aware, just like he did with Duryodhana. When he came and revealed the universal form, everyone could see, but Duryodhana and, the Kauravas, they could not see it. So Krishna is very selective in that way. Next verse, please. Next slide. This is text 26.
Vedaham samatitani vartamanani charjuna bhavishyani cha bhutani mam tu vedana kaschana. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me, no one knows. So here, actually, there was a joke. One person asked, "Do you know what is the birthday of Arjuna?" And the person, "What? How do you mean birthday of Arjuna? Yeah, which date did Arjuna was born?"
And it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita.
He said, "How do we know?" He said, "Well, it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita says the birth date of Arjuna, and two places actually." And so everyone was, what could be it? Okay, I'll tell you the answer. The answer is 4th June. June 4th was Arjuna's birthday. Huh? June 4th? Where is it written? He says that in chapter 4, it says that Bahuni me vyatitani, meaning me and you, we have passed many births. Tava cha Arjuna. Charjuna. So Charjuna, it says. And in this verse also it says, Vedaham samatitani vartmanani Charjuna, which means Charjuna. So 4th June is Arjuna's birthday.
But that's not correct.
Actually, it means Cha Arjuna. So therefore, we must actually try to understand Bhagavad Gita under the guidance of pure devotees. Otherwise, people misinterpret it in so many different ways. That person doesn't even know Sanskrit, and he is thinking Cha Arjuna means 4th June. Actually, it means Cha Arjuna and Arjuna. This is referring to Arjuna. So this is just to understand how we must be very careful who we gain knowledge from. And therefore, from the parampara, Srila Prabhupada is explaining as Krishna spoke it, Bhagavad Gita as it is, and more importantly, how Arjuna understood it. That's what we are learning today from Srila Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita as it is. Next verse, chapter 20, text 27. Ichha dvesha samuthena dvandva mohena bharata sarva bhutani sammoham sarge yanti parantapa.
O sign of Bharata, Arjuna, O conqueror of the four, all living entities are born into delusion, overcome by the dualities of desire and hate.
So here it's actually explaining how we fell into this spiritual material world from the spiritual world, because we were influenced by ichha, dvesha. Because of ichha and dvesha, this duality came into our mind. We were actually in the spiritual world serving Krishna as the souls. But then when we wanted to enjoy separate from Krishna, because we also have the same propensity of independence and free will that Krishna has, because we are his part and parcel. Because we are Krishna's part and parcel, he is supremely independent. We also have some independence and free will. And mostly we use it to serve Krishna in the spiritual world, but sometimes ichha dvesha samuthena, whenever we are influenced by this duality, then we want to enjoy separately from Krishna. And Krishna says, you know what? That's not your nature. That's not how you will be happy. You are meant to partake in my enjoyment because you are my part and parcel, just like this, the whole body serves the stomach. Similarly, you are my part and parcel. You cannot enjoy separately from me. But if you want to, if you insist, the best I can do is to put you into an illusion that you are enjoying. So Krishna then puts us, if we insist, he fulfills our desire, he fulfills our free will, puts us into a sleep, into a dream, where we dream that we are in this Disneyland and we are going in different rides, roller coaster rides, sometimes happiness, sometimes distress, sometimes in the body of a shark, and sometimes in the body of a animal, sometimes in the human body, and back and forth, back and forth. But this is all a dream. We are actually still with Krishna. But we are thinking we are in a dream that Krishna has put us on our insistence. But he comes with us into the dream. Who can enter our dream? Can someone just enter someone's dream unless they're spiritually enlightened? Krishna comes with us into this dream and then guides us. And anytime we want to go back, all we have to say is, Krishna, I'm so unqualified and I'm so sorry that I rejected you and came into this illusory world. I want to go back. Please, by the mercy of my spiritual master, I don't even have I left you, so I don't even have the courage to come back to you. But I'm having the audacity to pray to please take me back by the mercy of my Guru and Srila Prabhupada and the Paramparas. Please help me. I'm embarrassed now. That's all we have to say. And Krishna will arrange for us to come back. But he will test, are you really, do you really mean what you're saying? And then if we pass the test, we'll be able to go back home, back to Godhead.
So the
Next verse.
next slide, which is the last verse of the 7th chapter.
Yesham tu antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta bhajante mam dridhavrata.
Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life, whose sinful actions are completely eradicated and who are freed from the duality of delusion, engage themselves in my service with determination.
Now, many devotees, when they read this, they get into a conundrum because there is a contradiction. Here he says that those whose sinful reactions are eradicated, they surrender unto me. But then in the final chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, if they surrender to me, the sinful reactions are eradicated. So what comes first? Do we first eradicate sinful reactions, then we can surrender? Or when we surrender, then sinful reactions are eradicated? How do we do? This is a cycle which we cannot break. And to break this conundrum, to break this cycle, the Acharya comes in to resolve it. The pure devotee of the Lord, he comes. And when we serve the pure devotee of the Lord, then we get the adhikar. He gives us the qualification to bring to Krishna's notice, to help us in surrendering even though we are not qualified. And then this cycle begins. We surrender, our sinful reactions go away, and then that gives us more determination to surrender, which then again eradicates more sinful reactions and develops the love of God. So this is very important. We know Srila Prabhupada.
So in the Matchless Gift in the 22nd Avenue in New York, there was, Srila Prabhupada had a small storefront. And there, Srila Prabhupada would just have programs every Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So one time, Srila Prabhupada, he would go to nearby Tompkins Square Park and he would invite everyone to come to his program. And one time, Srila Prabhupada noticed that there was a, homeless man. He came in to the program at 26th Avenue, and he just opened the door. He came to the restroom. He used the restroom, and then he left. So he kept coming back. But the second time that he came with some toilet paper. Everyone noticed this, that he came with some toilet paper, because when he came first time, he noticed that the toilet was running out of toilet paper. So then he came with toilet paper rolls and he left that in the restroom in the 22nd Avenue. And Srila Prabhupada noticed that. And Srila Prabhupada said, this person's spiritual life has begun. And that, homeless man actually became a devotee by the intervention of Srila Prabhupada, because he rendered selfless service to Srila Prabhupada. So,
and that is what our book distributors, when we go out for book distribution, distributing Bhagavad Gita and the books of Srila Prabhupada, everyone is walking and running around to their destiny. But when a book distributor puts a book in between, they are intervening the destiny. And when the person touches the book or reads a word of the Bhagavad Gita, their destiny starts changing. The surrender starts happening and the love of God starts coming up.
So this brings us to chapter 8, which is entitled Attaining the Supreme. So the last two verses of chapter 7, Krishna...
We can stop the PPT, please.
Thank you. So Krishna used 6 different kinds of technical terms in the last two verses of the 7th chapter. And Arjuna asks for clarification of these technical words that Krishna used. And Krishna gives the answers in, first answers the first 7 questions, and then discusses the 8th question in a lot of detail. So in this chapter, Krishna also describes about, yoga, which is, devotional service, which is mixed with yoga. He discusses what is Shuddha Bhakti, which is pure devotional service. And he also discusses factors that determine the destination of a soul when it leaves the body. So now we can have the next slide, please.
So here, section 1 talks about from verses 1 to 4 of chapter 8. Krishna is answering Arjuna's questions, because Arjuna asked Krishna about Krishna's words at the end of the 7th chapter. So he replies to each one of Arjuna's query very briefly, and he says, Brahman, by Brahman I meant the indestructible living entity. Adhyatma, which means living entity's nature, which is ultimately to serve. Karma is that activity and its reactions which cause the development of different kinds of material bodies. Then he explains the word adhibhuta, which means the ever-changing material manifestation. Adhideva, which means one who presides over the demigods and the planets. Adhiyagya, which is Krishna as the super soul, who is in everyone's heart, the Lord of all sacrifices. So this is section 1.
Then section 2 talks about what happens when we remember Krishna at the time of death. So Krishna explains that one attains whatever state one remembers at the time of death, he attains that particular state. And Krishna recommends to Arjuna to undeviatingly meditate on Krishna so that he can dedicate his activities, the living entity can dedicate their activities to Krishna and thus attain Krishna.
Then section 3 from verse 9 to verse 13 talks about uh, remembering Krishna. How do we practice remembering Krishna through meditation? Because by practicing Yoga Mishra Bhakti, one can think of the Supreme Lord when quitting the body and reach the spiritual planets.
Then, from text 14 to 16, Krishna talks about pure devotional service. What is the definition of pure bhakti? So that Krishna says that by constant engagement in devotional service, one who undeviatingly remembers Krishna easily attains to Krishna and the Lord's abode. And he just, gets freed from this material world.
And finally, from verse 17 to 22, Krishna compares the material world with the spiritual world. How material world is constantly being created and destroyed, but beyond this material creation, there is a indestructible spiritual creation which can be attained only by unalloyed devotion unto Krishna.
So we can have the next slide, please, where we are going to discuss very quickly the important verses. Very, 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 very important verses are there in this particular chapter. So this is 8.5. Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yaprayati samadbhavam yati nastyatra samshaya. And whoever at the time of death quits his body remembering me alone at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. Can we have the next slide, please? Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tyajatyante kalevaram tam tamevaiti kaunteya sada tad bhava bhavita. So whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his body, that state he will attain without fail. So Srila Prabhupada, in the purport to this particular verse, Srila Prabhupada talks about the story of Jada Bharat. That how Bharat Maharaj, through 3 lifetimes, he attains perfection. But because as a king, this is a story from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So Bharat Maharaj as the king, he left his family, he left his kingdom, he came to the forest. But when he came to the forest for meditating, at that time, one day he saw that there was a pregnant mother deer and she was being chased by a tiger. And then she just, jumped across a waterfall, and while she jumped she had a miscarriage, and the baby, the baby deer fell into the waters, and this was all happening right in front of Bharat Maharaj's eyes. And Bharat Maharaj felt a lot of compassion to that little tiny deer because, the mother deer could not do anything to see, the baby deer fall down like this. So then Bharat Maharaj immediately came. He picked up the baby deer. He nursed the baby deer and he took care of the baby deer. And then he saw, there is vivid description that how the spiritual practice of Bharat Maharaj started getting deviated. He used to stay with his eyes closed, but then he started meditating with his eyes open so that he can, watch where if the baby deer is wandering away or not. So like this, he started developing a lot of attachment to the baby deer. And then it was finally his time of death. But all he was remembering is that now I'm going to die. Who will take care of this baby deer? So what happened as a result? He attained the body of a deer in his next life. But the thing is, the precious thing about this is that even in the body of a deer, Bharat Maharaj remembered his previous life. That what was the mistake? That he was practicing spiritual life all alone. He was not in the association of devotees. So that's why he, as a deer, he started staying amongst the association of sadhus, even as a deer. Because he felt that if I was being in the association of devotees, then some devotees would tell me that, oh, Prabhu, you're getting a little too attached to the deer. Just be a little mindful. But there was no one to caution him. So therefore now as a dear Bharat Maharaj, he was just associating with the sadhus, and as a result of that, his next birth, he was born into a beautiful Brahmin aristocratic family, like was described in the previous chapters. And he was born in a beautiful aristocratic family, and his name was Jada Bharat, and he remembered his previous 2 lifetimes. And therefore, he just perfected this life as Jada Bharat, and he went back home, back to Godhead. So this is the living proof, of this particular verse. So it's not that we must not feel compassionate towards other living entities, but when that compassion hinders our spiritual practice, we must be cautious. So this is the moral of this particular story. Next verse, please.
Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmarayudhya cha mayyarpita manobuddhir mame vaishashya samshaya. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. One time there was a uh, preacher, and he would share his knowledge, preach to his congregation, and sometimes he would be very strict and say, "You must remember Krishna. You must, otherwise, you'll go to hell," and so many things. And people would be very scared of this preacher. And then, at the same time, there was a taxi driver. He would drive taxi, and he would have people, take people from one point to another. And then, at the time of death, after both of them actually died, left their body together, and they both went to Yamaraj, and they said, so then the decision that was made is that the preacher would would actually not go to a lower heavenly planet, but the taxi driver will go to the highest planet. And the preacher was offended. How come you can do that? This is not fair. I think you got your addresses exchanged. I'm the one who is supposed to go to the highest planet, and this taxi driver, whatever happens to him, you give according to his karma. So Yamaraj, he said, yes, it is. I have given the right decision. How come? Explain it. So he said, look, my dear preacher, when you used to preach and tell about God, people would go to sleep. But when this taxi driver we used to drive car, he used to drive so rash that everyone would start remembering God. Oh my God, this person, he's driving so rash.
Please save us.
Please save me, save me. So this taxi driver made people remember Krishna more than you. And so he gets the highest planet. So this was the judgment here. Krishna is therefore explaining. Therefore, you should always think of me. In any way, think of me.
Next verse, please. Ananya cheta satatam yo mam smarati nityasha tasyaham sulabha partha nitya yuktasya yogina. For one who remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pritha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. So Krishna, he says that, when a person comes to me to ask for bhukti means material sense enjoyment. Krishna says, I give that very easily. If someone comes to me even for mukti, means liberation, I give that also very easily. But if anyone comes to me for bhakti, then I test that person. Because if before I give bhakti, I have to test that person, because giving bhakti means I would have to give myself to that person. And that is bhakti yoga. That is the supreme position of bhakti yoga. Next slide, please. Mamapetya punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata.
After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world which is full of miseries because they have attained the highest perfection. This is Krishna's promise.
So this place is Dukhalayam. Dukhalayam means alaya, means abode, means Vidyalaya, means where we can get knowledge. That's Vidyalaya. Himalaya means where we can get snow. That is Himalaya. Dukhalaya means where we get misery. So this place, Krishna is labeling it as Dukhalayam. So to expect happiness in this place is illusion. We should never do that. Next, please.
Abrahma bhuvanaloka
Punaravrtinorjuna mamupetya tu kaunteya punarjanmana vidyate. From the highest planet in the material world down to the lowest, all are places of misery wherein repeated birth and death take place. But one who attains to my abode, O son of Kunti, never takes birth again. This is Krishna's guarantee. How much more guarantee do we need? That Krishna is saying that you come to my abode and there is no problem at all. There'll be no suffering at all. Can anyone ever give this kind of guarantee in the history of mankind? No. It is only there in this Bhagavad Gita. This is the kind of guarantee that Krishna is giving. The last verse of this particular chapter.
Vedeshu yagyeshu
Tapasu
tapasu
chaiva
chaiva
daneshu yat punya phalam pradishtam atyeti tat sarvam idam viditva yogi param sthanamupayati chadyam. A person who accepts the path of devotional service is not bereft of the results derived from studying the Vedas, performing austere sacrifices, giving charity, or pursuing philosophical and fruitive activities. At the end, he reaches the supreme abode. Again, Krishna is guaranteeing that who is performing devotional service, just by the performance of devotional service, Krishna is guaranteeing that even though we may not we may not be a Sanskrit scholar, we may not be any kind of other qualifications or anything of that sort, but Krishna is guaranteeing that we will go back home, back to Godhead, to the spiritual world. So with this we end today's session. But at this point, we would like to now start our interactive session. So in our interactive session, we would first like to ask all the devotees present. First, so we'll take feedback on devotees who have performed their home assignments. So please, if you can share, we'll take only 2 devotees who can please share who have performed the home assignments. So please do share. And then after taking the home assignments, then we will do the other interactive session where you write different comments. So, and we encourage all the devotees to also write their comments of their home assignments if they have done that, and what has most importantly been their experience. So please do share. So the major home assignment that we had from yesterday is please share how Krishna has been the best friend and protector in your life, in a conversation with your family or friend, based on what we learned in yesterday's session. So anyone who did that would like to share?
Hare Krishna Mataji, this is Shyampriya Devi Dasi.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. Yes, Mataji, I did that assignment. I talked to one of the Matajis over here, and I was discussing about I was actually wanting to do Bhakti Shastri course for a long time, and I was just keeping on thinking. But then I was just talking to, and I was sharing that only if we keep thinking in our mind and we don't do anything, then how are we going to go to the further step? So I'll just keep thinking for years, I want to do it, but I won't do it, then it's not going to happen. So then we were just talking that only if it is our will, then only Krishna will help us. So the way how we will act, Krishna will reciprocate like that. Mm-hmm. So it was she also was telling me that Mataji, because you're talking like this, I also got inspiration. So I also want to do the Bhakti Shastri course. So then we both decided to do it. So we were talking. So it's always not only that we have to show endeavor to Krishna, then only Krishna will reciprocate. So that was a conversation that we were talking.
Haribol, Haribol. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anybody else? You've discussed about Krishna, how he's protecting us, how he's our best friend. Anyone else would like to share?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, I like to share. Yesterday we had there was one speaker on the Zoom chat called Nitya Shakti.
Yes.
And he was just telling us about the spiritual and everything. And I just shared with them that Krishna was the ideal teacher, and he gave all these things to us 5,000 years back in Srimad Bhagavad Gita. And if you see that everything is derived from that, which we have now just doing it in a modern way, in a more simpler and easier way, like simpler thing, but everything is derived from Krishna's Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So I think according to me, he is the ideal teacher. What he has said is nothing but the truth because it came from his mouth. And there were so many people around that also. And it was like a wonderful sharing. That's what I'll say. So
thank you. Thank you so much, Anjuji. Thank you so for that beautiful share. So now we'll start our interactive session for today. Again, we thank all the devotees who are personally, sending their comments to us. Thank you so much for completing your assignments. And so the first, assignment that you have today is please write something new that you learned in today's session, which inspires you. Anyone would like to share?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
This is Ramya from India.
Hare Krishna.
And Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I'm very happy to attend your class. This is my first time online class I'm attending. And it's very hectic time for me, but still I'm attending. And the class is very, very nice. I'm teaching my son, my 5-year son, Bhagavad Gita slokas. So your class is very helpful to teach him slokas and understand lots of things. And I'm taking all the notes, whatever you are saying. But I didn't get time to do the home assignments. But I'm doing all the things. I'm again hearing your class and taking the notes. Thank you so much. And Lalitangi Mataji is my cousin sister.
You sound exactly like her. She's a very dear friend of mine.
She's my inspiration in my spiritual life. She's the one who took me to Krishna consciousness. I don't have any other association other than her. She's my only association. I do chanting 12 rounds and I read Bhagavad Gita whenever I'm getting time. And Advait Prabhuji, and I have heard your Bhagavatam class so many times and I have recorded and I have taken the notes from your class. It's very wonderful. Before 1.5 years, you have told about 9 limbs of Bhakti. Yes. It was very, very nice.
Wow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Talking to you is my very pleasure. It's my blessing. And Kalasudha Mataji, I have saw your you have performed one kirtan in Lalitangi Mataji at home before 1.5 years. And I saw your kirtan. It was awesome and very wonderful. Thank you so much for your class. And my one request, after this class session is over, don't delete the group. It will be helpful for me to take the notes and hear your classes again and again.
We'll definitely not delete the group, but we request all the members, who want to continue on the journey, because we'll keep doing different sessions. So we are going to have another group. So we will request all of you to join there. We will send out the details, so all of you can also join there for getting further updates. So we will not delete this group, so don't worry. You will have all the
Thank you so
materials that
much.
we are sharing.
And lots of doubts are you are clearing through your slokas and questions and the story. Lots of stories I don't know, and you are telling that's very, very nice. I have to thank both of you for the wonderful class. Thank you so much, Mataji. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you.
Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you so much for those sweet words of, it really encourages us to keep continuing. And we know when, sincere devotees like all of you are somehow, feeling encouraged, that gives us some hope that, Krishna is accepting our service. So
Yes.
thank you. Thank you so much. Anyone else would like
Thank
to
you,
share?
Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Can Garima speak?
Yes, Garima can speak.
Like that the Bhrigu Muni kicked Krishna on the chest, but the Krishna tolerated it.
Yes, that is something you like. Thank you, Garima. Thank you so much, Bacha, for sharing that. Thank you. Anyone else would
And
like
he
to
not
share?
only tolerated it, he actually has a mark. He keeps the mark of Bhrigu Muni's lotus feet on his chest. As a honor in one sense.
So if you see any deity of Laddu Gopal, you see in their chest, in the chest of Laddu Gopal, you will see, or any deity of Krishna, they also have, especially Ashtadhatu Murtis, they have a small, tiny one lotus feet. That is the feet of Bhrigu Muni. That's how dear the devotees are to Krishna. So thank you, Garima.
My Balgopal has it.
He has it? Yes, thank you. Thank you, Bacha. Okay, anyone else would like to share?
May I?
Yes.
The story of you had said about Prabhupada, it was so beautiful, which was a very new learning about the energies, the audio energy, the tape, and the separated energy. In fact, I would like to know more about it. This was the first time I heard about these energies, and it was a thinking thing in my mind. Just came, and I would like to hear more about it, the separate energies of Krishna, which you had said. So when you ever have time, please do tell us. That was very wonderful.
Thank you, Anjuji.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else would like to share what they liked?
Yes, Prabhuji, yes, Mataji, this is Shyampriya Devidasi.
Yes,
I really like the king story that Prabhuji said about the three statues.
Yes.
That, whatever you are hearing, you have to, even after hearing, you have to speak. So, chanting, that really helps me in the morning. Like Prabhupada said that when you're chanting, your mind has to do no business in the middle of your hearing and your speaking. So always I remember these words, and Prabhu said this story, so that really helps even to concentrate while we are chanting. So I really liked it. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much, Shampriya Mataji. Thank you so much for sharing that. Anyone else? One more?
Okay, so the next exercise is, as it says, how, remembrance of Krishna and the Hare Krishna mantra, it transforms our negative emotions into positive emotions. So write down an experience where you felt that some of your negative emotions, remembering Krishna, or in some way was transformed into a positive emotion, maybe vengeance into forgiveness. You don't have to tell us all the details, but just the specific point which was a transformation point.
Which quality you felt transformed, so that we can give others also chance to speak. So just tell us which quality helped in the transformation. Anybody would like to share?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, Hare Krishna.
This is Meena, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Meena Mataji.
Actually, I like Hare Krishna, Mataji. I like Krishna's humility. Even though he's supreme personality of Godhead, he just tolerated different Munis, the test, and really it's amazing how a supreme Lord can be like this, and whom we are. Why we have so much pride and false ego. So I was so attracted to that. Even Lord's humbleness to his devotees. He is the proprietor of everything, but he took this charity position and like that humbleness. Whenever I think of that, I was thinking, who am I to get pride of something which I have done something? Also, that is not from me, that is from him. So this one thing, I was so attracted to Krishna, and every time he stick to his words. He never deviate from that.
Yes.
Whatever he said, he just done to everyone, not even some partiality. That thing I love to Krishna.
Wonderful,
Thank
wonderful.
you for sharing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Meena Mataji, for sharing that. Anybody else?
Mataji, I actually did not understand the question. Sorry.
Okay, the question is just like how we say that, lust is transformed into love through the process of the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Greed is transformed into generosity. So do we have any personal experience of these negative qualities getting transformed through the practice of spiritual life? So if you can just share that quality that in you, it helped, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra helped transform a negative quality into a pure spiritual quality.
Or some incident that you would have normally reacted in a negative way, but then you reacted in a positive way in that.
Because of Krishna consciousness. So someone was
Hare
saying,
Krishna Mataji,
Hare Krishna, Soumya.
Dhanvat Pranam Mataji. And I would like to share that one time I'm reading Bhagavad Gita. There in Bhagavad Gita I read that Jiva Himsa is not good. But at that time I was eating non-veg. I was crying, Krishna, this is wrong. But I'm unable to leave this non-veg. What shall I do? I'm just crying like that. And Keshvi Mataji said, do lot of more chanting. Then you can come out of your senses. I started more chanting. From that, I left everything, Mataji. That is one of the backstory things.
Thank you.
I left.
Thank you.
One more thing is that when you came to India, to Keshvi Mataji's house, I was preparing breakfast for you. At that time, everything, that means people think that we must be like good looking and we have to be very decorated like that. I used to think before going out for giving breakfast to you. I did not wear my chappals also. I was running breakfast to feed you at that time. So at that time also, whatever, this is the body. I have to decorate it or I have to do this and this for the body. I left it at that time, Mataji, to serve you. Whatever I want, or just I want to give the breakfast for you, Mataji. That is the two things I was noticed in my life, Mataji. And now I am speaking with everyone with polite Mataji. That means I used to always think that we should not do Vaishnava Aprat. Even some small service they are doing to Krishna also, I used to talk to them very politely. Totally changed my way of behavior also towards that. Krishna conscious helped me, LG.
Haribol.
There are so many out there. Thank you,
Haribol, Haribol. You are so sweet, Soumya. You are so sweet, exceptionally sweet. So thank you. Thank you so much. Really touched my heart. Thank you.
All right, we'll take one more answer and after that we'll open for question answers.
One more person can share?
Mataji, I also have.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'll give somebody else a chance.
Thank you. Who is this?
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
This is Shamala Mataji.
Yes, Shamala.
So for me, I would say that this
envy, even like sometimes like it's naturally comes if they are not behaving properly. So why this person? So automatically like the criticism, envy. So these all generally like automatically comes because if everyone is good, that is okay. But if they are starting in a reverse way, so we start like thinking like why this person is behaving like this and all this. So but after like repeatedly hearing and reading Srila Prabhupada books, so Krishna like he says like we should not envy. If we are envying someone else, it means we are envying Krishna himself. So that is important lesson that I learned. So whenever, even if I feel something bad about the person, immediately I remember this point. No, if I envy them, I'm envying Krishna. I should not do that. So that helps me.
Very nice, very nice. Wonderful point. Very good point.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much, Shamala.
Okay, are there any questions or comments?
Prabhuji, I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, Kirti.
My mom also has a question, so I'll let her go first and I'll go after my mom.
How kind of you.
Hare Krishna Mataji and Prabhuji. Like you have been telling like we have that desire like we want to enjoy separate from Krishna, so we have fallen in this material world again. But we might be knowing like whenever we go back home to Godhead, we never come back again to this material world. So I really felt that is contradictory. Like when we are there, how we will come back again to this material world?
Yes. So actually, so is your question that we are in this material world? When we go back, there is a chance that we can come back again?
Yes. Why? Like you say that like if you have icha, like we want to have to enjoy separate from Krishna, so we are coming back again to this material world. But like we always say that when we go back home where Godhead, we never feel like to come back again to this material world. That is a thing which we learned, right? Like so that I felt like complete contradictory. Like I feel like.
Yes, that's correct. So one is it's like suppose we unknowingly touch some heat or some hot thing. We touch it and we feel, or fire, and then we feel hot. Then even though we have the free will to put our hand again inside fire, but we won't do it because we have the experience. Oh, I don't want to have that experience. If we unknowingly put our hand in the socket, electric socket, we'll get shock. Now we still have the free will and independence. Anytime we can go and put our hand in the socket, but we won't especially once we've got that bad experience, we won't. So that way, even though we have the free will, but once burned, twice shy, we won't. At the same time, Krishna promises here, Yat Gatva na nivartante tad dham paramam mama. Once you come there, you will not come back. So Krishna has also promised that. So because of these two reasons, we have faith that once we go, we won't come back. Even though we could, but we won't.
Yes, we won't. Yes.
And that is a special mercy also coming from Sri Gauranga Mahaprabhu, especially for this Kali Yuga. We have this special mercy coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that he is actually opening the doors of Goloka Vrindavan. It is because of Mahaprabhu. Otherwise, to even know about Goloka Vrindavan, Krishna himself in Dwapar Yuga, he did not reveal anything about Goloka Vrindavan. The maximum everyone knows is up to Vaikuntha. They don't know anything about, the highest abode of the spiritual world that was revealed by Mahaprabhu. So therefore, in this Kali Yuga especially, and that's why for this Kali Yuga, Krishna spoke this Bhagavad Gita, and it is applicable. Of course, Bhagavad Gita has actually, much, much more. But, especially for this day and age, Krishna gave us these 700 verses. And this is the guarantee that Krishna is taking care, that he'll make sure that we don't come back. Hope this answers your question.
Yes, Mataji. Thank you so much.
Prabhuji, I just with this related to this question, I just have one thing. Like in text 27, how Prabhuji was saying that we were serving Krishna, and then it was with our will that we came back. Like Krishna sent us, okay, you want to go, like so we came back. But then in chapter 8, text 16, like how you explained that Krishna says that you will never come back. So how does that both match?
Well, that is the same question that Mataji asked. And we said that, like, of course, that once, for example, we have not come here to this material world. We are actually in a dream. We are still with Krishna, actually speaking.
We've never, because
We've
it is
never
said,
left Krishna, nor Krishna has left us. But he has put us into illusion, in a dream. Like in the dream, we are still in the house with our relatives,
with our own
family,
beds.
in our own beds. But then we feel that, oh, a tiger is chasing us, and then we are sweating and we are running, and it seems so real at that point. Similarly, we are still with Krishna, with our spiritual family. It's just that we are in a dream where we think that, oh, we are doing this, is I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm in such and such bad situation, good situation. And Krishna is helping us in this illusory way also to come back,
to awaken ourselves, rather.
But once we are awakened, once we wake up in the spiritual world, suddenly we'll feel, oh, I went through a terrible nightmare. That was a nightmare. And then if Krishna says, do you want to go back to the nightmare? No, I don't want to go anymore to that nightmare. So, yad gatva na nivartante, that once you, in 16, he says, mam upetya tu konteya punarjanma na vidyate, then your next birth will not happen again once you go back. Once you wake up, that's what it means. So going back is not like we'll go fly to some location. It's a spiritual world is, of course, a place, but it's also a state of consciousness.
So it's said that not even a leaf actually falls down from the spiritual world. So what to speak of us? Even if a leaf doesn't fall down, then how can we as the living entities fall down from the spiritual world? This is a statement from the Shastra. So in that sense, that's how Prabhu is explaining that. Prabhupada explains this, especially Srila Jiva Goswami in Jaiva Dharma explains it very, very vividly, that we are actually in a dream state. We are, like in pods in the spiritual world. So, to describe this, actually, we have a very beautiful presentation, which we can do sometime on, on the, we have the Bhagavad Gita and the movie Matrix. So we have that presentation which talks about this very concept. So sometimes we may present that to all of you.
Mataji, can I ask my question?
Yes, Kirti, please. You've been extremely patient and we are so thankful to you for that. Please go ahead, Beta.
My question is, so Ajamil, when he was going back to Godhead, like when he was in his deathbed, he called his son Narayan's name.
Yes.
And that because of that, he went back to Godhead, even though Ajamil did do some bad stuff in his life.
Mm-hmm.
So when we leave our body, if we think that we're going to leave our body now, but you want to go back to Godhead at that time, if you call Krishna at that time, like how Ajamil did, will we go back to Godhead?
Very wonderful question. Now let me clarify. What happened with Ajamil is that the first part of Ajamil's life, he was a very wonderful devotee. He had extremely good pious credits. But in his, middle age is when he fell down and became very, very abominable. And therefore, he actually was, because of the pious credits, he named his son Narayan. And this same question that you asked me was asked by the Yamadutas to the Vishnudutas. Because when Yamadutas had already come to take and snatch, the soul of Ajamil to the hellish worlds. And that time when Ajamil cried out, helplessly he cried out to Narayan, actually calling for his son. But that time the Vishnudutas came and said, stop. And then, this exact question was asked What you asked me, the Yamaduta said, oh, a person can do his whole life sinning, and then they chant, they'll get free? What kind of thing is this? So the Vishnudutas say that, it's not that Ajamil was sinning and chanting. No. Ajamil's position was very, very separate. It was very different. Ajamil helplessly was remembering Krishna. And that happened, it is explained that because of his pious credits, during his young age that he rendered, Krishna gave him that remembrance. But Krishna, the Vishnudutas, did not immediately take back Ajamil to the spiritual world. They gave him a second chance. The second chance was that Ajamil, was the stop, that Vishnudutas came and stopped the Yamadutas to take away Ajamil, and Ajamil got a second chance to render devotional service and perfect his life. And then after that, Ajamil went back home, back to Godhead. So just because he remembered Narayan so helplessly, not with the mood that, oh, I am doing sin, now I will take Krishna's name and I'll get freed from sin. That was not Ajamil's mood, because that is the seventh offense to the holy name. It is, to commit sinful activities on the strength of the holy names of the Lord. So that is an offense to the holy name. Ajamil did not do that. Ajamil just helplessly was calling out to Narayan. And that's why the Vishnudutas came and gave him the second chance. So does that answer your question?
Yes, Mataji, but I have a little thing to add on.
Yes, please.
Example, I'm a devotee right now, and I'm doing all the stuff for Krishna, and then I do some sins in my life. So, will I get a little 2 months period to try to go back to Godhead like how Ajamil did, or will I have to choose to go in one place?
You are doing Krishna's service, Kirti. So there is no question of you committing any sins. Krishna will protect you. And even if you commit any sinful activities, Krishna will take care.
Kshipram bhavati dharmatma. Which means if a devotee, Krishna says in 9th chapter, we'll see that even if a devotee accidentally commits sins, then since he wants to still continue on the devotional path and he's still sincere, he will become a Mahatma very soon.
So Krishna will take care. Don't worry about it.
But we should not use that as an excuse to say, oh, you know what, I'll sin and then I'll become a Mahatma really soon because I won't give up Krishna consciousness. So let me just continue sinning. That's not an excuse. Then Krishna will see through it.
So therefore, always we must remember Krishna is Bhavagrahi Janardhan. He is not Karmagrahi Janardhan. He doesn't see what actions we are doing. He is seeing what bhava, with what mood we are doing our actions. So we can never cheat Krishna. Always remember that. So if we are sincerely trying our best, like that little squirrel putting sands, grains of sand into the bridge built by Lord Ramachandra. But Lord Ramachandra appreciated the work of that squirrel because the squirrel was doing the best to its capacity. So that's important. Okay?
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Bacha.
We have a question by KG on YouTube. Hare Krishna, I like the fact that we are in the dream and in this material world. So our family, our characters in our life, are they real? Or are they merely part of the dream? How about devotees? Are they a part of our dream as well? Also, how does karma play in this dream? Kajal, KG is Kajal. Okay, thank you for this wonderful question. Very deep, very thoughtful. Yes, we are in this dream, and in this dream, have you ever been in a dream that seems so real? This is if you see the Matrix movie, this is one of the things that, what is that character's name? Morpheus.
The spiritual master.
He's like the spiritual teacher, the guru. He tells Neo that, have you ever been in a dream that it seems so real? And that's what we are in, a dream which seems so real. Now, it doesn't mean that our family members are not real. In the sense, they are real living entity. They're real in the sense they are souls. They are living entities. And we are sharing that dream. They are also in a dream. We are also in a dream, and we are in a shared dream in that sense. Everyone in this world. But then we all have our own spiritual journeys and destinies, and they somehow come together and then they go away. Just like people meet in the airplane for a couple of hours, or maybe in a day journey, and then they leave after that. So similarly, we are having a shared dream. They are real because in the sense that they are also living beings, just like we are spirit souls. They are also spirit souls, but it's unreal in the sense that it is temporary. That association may be just for this lifetime, or maybe multiple lifetimes, depending on how deep the connection is. But they are real as well as unreal in the sense that they are temporary. So this material world is also a dream, but dream does not mean unreal. It's a real dream. It's real in the sense the matter is a reality. It's not like it's just, it doesn't exist. It exists. It's real in the sense that it exists. This particular laptop, it exists. But it is unreal in the sense that it is temporary. It doesn't stay eternal, um, just like the soul is eternal. From the point of view of the soul, it is temporary, and therefore, in that sense, unreal. So, this dream, it has real things. Devotees, when they come, they are coming into our dream. Krishna is sending them into our dream to wake us up. Jiva jago, Jiva jago, Gaura Chandra bole, Koto nidra jao maya, Pishachira kole. Wake up, sleeping souls. For how long will you sleep in the lap of a witch called Maya? So we are sleeping in the lap of Maya, but we are sleeping. And this is all a dream. And Lord Chaitanya is coming, Krishna is coming in this dream, in this shared dream that we have. And devotees come in this dream. And the whole purpose is to wake us up. We see the pictures of Krishna, and seeing the pictures of Krishna, chanting the name of Krishna, one day, oh, I actually belong there. This seems very familiar. Have you ever had this feeling that all of these, the spiritual, the chanting of Hare Krishna, the spiritual pictures, when we see a picture of Krishna, it seems familiar? That's because in our reality, we have seen Krishna.
Sometimes even when we see some devotees, we feel so heart-to-heart connection with them. We may not even, have met them personally, but we just feel so strongly connected with them. So that shows that this is an eternal relationship. And that with every living entity, because every living entity is actually belonging to the spiritual world. So we have relationship with every living entity in that sense. But it's just that we are like amnesia struck patients. So Srila Prabhupada said, a person who's suffering from amnesia, you take them to familiar grounds, familiar places, show them familiar, faces. Then one time it may click. Oh, I remember. And that's awakening our Krishna consciousness.
So then the next question is, how does karma play in this dream? Yeah, the way we act in this dream decides how our next dream will be. So in this body, I'm in a dream that I'm a man, I'm from a particular country, I am going through certain situations. But how I react in these situations will decide how my next dream in my next body will play out to be. And then next dream and next dream. And then one day I'll be like, I don't want to be in these dreams. They're just so confusing. I want to be in reality, please. And then Krishna will send someone
to intervene,
who will connect us to the correct association, right association of devotees, which will lead us to the awakening from our dream. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you so much. So any more questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji and Mataji. Dandavat Pranam. This is Shilpi here.
Hare Krishna.
So I have a question, Mataji and Prabhuji. So in the whole Bhagavad Gita, I don't have much knowledge about Bhagavad Gita actually, but Krishna is telling us ways how to attain him, how to go back to him, how to achieve, go back to Vaikuntha Loka and everything, right? But the thing is, I'm talking about me personally. So I have understand that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. I try to do things to please Krishna. I try to serve the devotees. I try to help others, like chanting, reading sometimes, every day hearing. But the thing is, I still don't have that, hankering to go back to him, or like that restlessness that, oh, Krishna, please call me. I want to come back to you. So I feel sometimes is because I'm not very sincere or serious in my service or devotional service, or is I am still too much into Maya? What's the reason? It should happen. Like if I am in Krishna consciousness, I am chanting, maybe I'm not taking it too seriously. That's why maybe I'm not getting that feeling that I just want to go back to him. Right now, I just want to please him and I'm okay. So I am not able to understand what's going on. So if you can advise.
Yeah, this is a very good question. When we eat food, we need to have some hunger to be able to digest it. If we just keep eating when we are not hungry or something like that, it may not get digested well. But if we have the hunger, it'll get digested real well because the Jataragni is there. Similarly, yes, we are continuing our spiritual life. We are chanting, we are associating with devotees. All of that is good. And then a time comes when we become complacent. And we okay, if it happens, happens, doesn't happen, no problem. My life is going well and I'm doing well and all of these things happen. So it's a very relevant question that you are asking. The best way to develop that eagerness is to associate with those who have this eagerness. So if you see some devotees who you are seeing wow, they are serving as if in a urgency with so much eagerness that they want to be with Krishna, when will you please come? Then when we associate with them, slowly that quality will rub off. We will also realize, oh, actually I'm helpless. I'm thinking that I have the support of my family, I have the support of my bank balance, and I have nice karma, so things are going well, I have a nice job. But actually, if I see, none of this will help me at the end of life. None of this. I'm actually when I get into bad situation. None of this is going to satisfy my mind. Only Krishna will. And if we, if so, one is we associate with those who are eager. Second, Srila Prabhupada said, if you are not eager, then be eager to be eager.
So that's confusing.
Yeah, be very, just like you are saying, I'm not eager. So you are actually eager
to be eager
so that you can be eager. So pray to Krishna like this.
Yeah.
Krishna, I'm not, just like you very honestly said, I'm not feeling the hunger, the eagerness. I want to be eager, but I'm not. This is my situation. But I want to be eager for you. Please help me. Then Krishna will arrange a situation where he will reciprocate with your eagerness to be eager. And if you're not eager to be eager, then be eager to be eager to be eager. And
very nice.
That's one thing. Now, third formula is Srila Prabhupada's formula. One devotee said, Prabhupada, I'm not feeling enthusiastic. All the devotees are doing kirtan. I'm not feeling enthusiastic to dance. What should I do? Prabhupada said, act enthusiastic. So if we act enthusiastic, then real enthusiasm will come. Now someone will say, hey, isn't that hypocrisy? I mean, I'm not feeling enthusiastic, but now I have to act enthusiastic. It's hypocrisy if we are acting enthusiastic to show others, to show off. But if we are acting enthusiastic as a prayer to Krishna. Krishna, I want to be enthusiastic. I'm not enthusiastic. But look, I am acting as if I'm enthusiastic, so that please give me real enthusiasm. Look, I'm at least trying. And so when we try to be enthusiastic, we act eager. If we are not eager, act eager. Oh, wow, I want this. I want this. And I'm not feeling from the heart, but I'm doing it. I'm like, Krishna, I really need you. You just act eager, act enthusiastic as a prayer. Then Krishna will see, oh, you're trying. Okay, I'll give you real enthusiasm.
I'll give you real eagerness.
This is Srila Prabhupada's formula.
So
and
fake
also,
till you make it, right?
Huh?
Yeah, fake till you make it.
Yeah, but fake it with the right consciousness, not to show off to others. If we show off to others, if we fake it to just show off, then it's empty. But if we fake it to show Krishna, that look, yes, I'm fake,
and I'm
but you have to
sincere
make it
about
real. You have to make it real, and then we show to Krishna our that we are trying. Then Krishna will reciprocate. But we have to show our eagerness first.
And also, you were mentioning another thing, that you said that, you don't have eagerness to go back to Godhead. You're just satisfied with serving Krishna.
Yeah.
That is actually a very good sign too, because our acharyas, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he has written in Vaishnava songs, he has written that a devotee is not really interested even in liberation. They just want to serve Krishna life after life. So that's why Prabhu said that keeping association, having the right kind of association, will help us in cultivating this mood in its proper sense. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, Maro bhi rakho bhi jo ichha tohar, nitto dasho tuha, something. I forget the last line, but he's saying that you may kill me, Krishna, or you may do whatever you want with me, but all I just want is service to you. This is the prayer of the devotee, of a sincere devotee. So when we associate with devotees, when we have this kind of mood that is going around, then that's good. That's very good.
Well, thank you, Mataji and Prabhuji. Very practical, actually, suggestions. Thank you, Mataji. And one more thing is, yesterday I listened that Uma Mataji was saying that if sometime you can share your journey, so definitely on your last day, if you can share with us, it would be very helpful for us, those tips. So
definitely.
Thank you, Mataji.
We will definitely share our journey on the last day. Definitely. Thank you.
Prabhuji.
All right. With this, we'll end our session today. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. See you tomorrow for chapter 9. Tomorrow we'll only complete one chapter.
It's a very important chapter, chapter 9. So we'll do just one chapter tomorrow. So please stay tuned for the home assignments that we will send in our WhatsApp group. And we look forward to your association again tomorrow. Thank you all so very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. ISKCON Vartaman Guru Vrind ki jai. Anantakoti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.